Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I am always blown away every time she's with us. So excited to have her back. She is a psychic medium and so much more. As I find out, she apparently is deep into herbs, energy healing, and she revealed something or found something on me last time we got together that my head is still rolling around here. Nicole Smith is back with us. Welcome back, Nicole. How you doing?
I'm doing well, Steve. Thanks. How are you?
I'm well. And just to reflect back, when we last got together, you said something about a woman in my past showing up. What is this all about? And it was just the day before I was in traffic and looked to my left. I was on the phone, random thing, and I see a girlfriend from when I was 22. and she's in traffic, and I'm like waving. I'm like, I'll call you. And we text after that. And I had, connected with her, maybe 10, 12 years after that. And we stay in touch every couple of years or whatever. I run into her, but you said it as if you knew it. And it was
I did.
It was the craziest, wildest thing. And I honestly, I've talked with psychic mediums before and they pull stuff out, but that was just, and good. That was kind of like the same. It's been a while. Since I experienced that. Signs that we get. I want to talk about that today. The symbolism that comes with that, how you get a sign, how you interpret a sign. Should you be even asking for a sign? Obviously, well, not obviously, but I'm going to say you probably believe in signs.
Absolutely. You have to. You have to be aware of what is surrounding you. And I teach a lot about being present and aware. Simply because in order to connect with those signs and those symbols that we're being given, if we are in the rat race and we're constantly, what's the next 10 things that we need to do in our day, we miss what's coming in for us. We're not paying attention. It can be something as simple as a song. It could be a word. It could be a billboard. It could just be something that you have a conversation with somebody and they say those couple of words. And then you go back later and you think about it and you're like, it didn't hit you at first. And then it's like, wait a second. I've noticed lately, here's a funny thing. The other day, me and my daughter took a trip to Lowe's to get some soil. And I'm thinking to myself as I pass the massage place that I go to, I'm like, gee, I wonder if so-and-so is working. And no sooner do we get home, just the idea of that place popping up, I get a phone call from them going, can we move your appointment up? I'm like, oh my God, absolutely. Right. But it's little things like that will strike you. So if you're thinking about somebody at random that you haven't, for instance, like with your situation, maybe you had a thought about them 3 days prior to that, or maybe an hour before that. And then all of a sudden there they are. Those are the signs and symbols that are very simple ones that we tend to miss because our brain goes into the overthinking process. So it's paying attention and then also understanding what that symbolism means to us personally, because that's how our intuition talks.
Do you really think that it's all there? We're getting signs, we're getting intuition, we're getting messages, we're getting tipped off about things, but we don't see them. We don't process them because we're just running crazy.
We are. When we live in a world, and no offense to anything out there, but we live in a world where it keeps us so busy, so preoccupied, so distracted. Our phones, I'm as guilty as the next one, constantly attached to my phone, primarily because of my work and stuff. But I always tell everybody, if I didn't do what I do, I would never even be attached to technology. I'm not a big fan of it. Because it does create an ongoing distraction. We start on one thing, we get on there to look up, new clothes. And the next thing you know, we're down the rabbit hole into something we didn't even start off on. But it becomes, right? I mean, it's everybody, but it becomes a distraction. So we're working 9 to 5, we're working 10-hour days, Monday through Friday. It's go, 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 feed the kids, do the laundry, do the dishes. We don't give ourselves enough time to be aware and be present in the moment. When we're present, we're also paying attention to, just the little things of how we're feeling. People make fun of me. I have a dishwasher. I refuse to use my dishwasher. I wash my dishes by hand still. Because I meditate. I actually meditate while I'm doing my dishes. I'm paying attention to how it feels, what's going on, what's coming up for me. It really does vary for everybody, but it's just about being aware. So
I totally get it. I sold a house last summer kind of in between houses right now. And I would mow the lawn. Everybody gets a lawn service. And, I loved being outside. I love the, just even
That's
planting and,
that's the Virgo earth energy that you are.
I guess it is
Yes.
because, and I didn't realize what it was doing for me when I was doing it, but I would spend hours outside planting and trimming things, and just you would never find a weed. And I took a lot of pride in that. And I had an old like tractor I got from another house, and I bought off that owner of the house, and I would just sit on my tractor and I would mow my lawn, and I would get in my meditative zone, and it's just like just do my thing, and also grounded by being
Yes.
outside doing gardening and stuff like that. So yeah, nothing wrong with doing your own dishes.
Everyone's like, you don't use your dishwasher. I'm like, nope, sorry, not today. Like
Oh.
I'll take that 10 minutes and do the dishes, and it just defeat. And I'm a water sign. I'm a Scorpio, so it's water. I love water. When I come home from work and my brick and mortar store, and after I do energy work all day, the first thing I want to do is get into water. Like I sit in the bathtub like a 5-year-old. I love it because it's cleansing. And just even, the grounding energy of the earth, even though I'm not a water sign, I love to have my hands in the dirt. There is the connectivity that we feel when we're doing those things. But life has taught us, society has taught us what's convenient, what's easy. Hire a lawn service, get that big, machine that will cut 3 rows of grass as opposed to that push mower. We get taught, to do it conveniently and quickly, and we're missing the very important key steps in it as to what it does for us when we're engaged.
I look at it this way with the dishwashing, you got to clean the stuff off the dishes anyway. Like what's the dishwasher doing? Sanitizing. All right.
Yeah.
Turn up the hot water a little bit, use a little extra soap, and you're done. I mean, I think a lot of people use the dishwasher just to say, yeah, I'm going to press a button. Yeah. Look at me.
They're done. They did them themselves.
Yeah, exactly. I'm entitled to this. And I'm not saying that you're not, but
Right.
sometimes you miss the value of that. So when it comes to signs, do you yourself ask for them?
I do. So I'm gonna make this statement to anyone who's listening. We've got spirit, we've got God, we've got our ancestors, we've got the universe, the divine, however you want to label it for yourself. The one thing that I think a lot of people tend to miss is they'll be like, I've been going through this struggle or this strife and I don't know what to do. And I'm like, well, have you asked for help? And they're like, well, if I ask my mother, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, have you asked source? Have you asked God? Have you asked the universe? And they kind of look at me like I'm crazy. The thing of it is, they're there to guide us, support us, and move us forward. They're not there to intervene just because they can. They're not going to go, if you're going to make a left-hand turn and they know there's an accident, they're not going to just go, oh no, like stop your car on a dime. It is part of you to understand your intuition. It's like, if you get a gut feeling that I probably shouldn't make a left-hand turn going home tonight, I can take the long way around. That's your guides directing you, but it's up to you to have that free will choice. So when we are seeking advice or we're seeking answers from our guides, our spirits, we need to ask. It's like, if I tell you I've got something going on and you feel as it's not your place to just involve yourself, or that unsolicited advice, we'll call it. But I say, hey, Steve, what do you think I should do? Now I'm asking. So now you know that your role is to step in and say, hey, here's my advice. I would do X, Y, Z, and this is why. Same thing with our guides. Call on them. Ask them first, I need support. I need guidance. I need a sign. I need something that's going to show me that I'm making a good decision, or that I should take this job, or I should leave this relationship, or whatever it might be. They're not there to do our work for us. They're there to guide us. I mean, it's no different than saying a prayer. Same thing.
It really is. And it's the same thing when people are like, what's this energy thing? And you say to somebody, hey, you know what? I'm sending positive vibes for your healing. You're sending energy.
Exactly.
Same thing with a prayer. Prayers for a speedy recovery. You're sending positive energy in a prayer.
Absolutely.
It's a thought. You have an intention, and you can do it thousands of miles away. And
we talked about that with the distance Reiki. I mean, you can do anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything.
When I ask for signs, I get them, and they're very specific.
And that's awesome, because the more specific they are, that tells me the more in tune with your intuition, the more you have faith and trust in the process that something greater than you is working to your higher good.
I don't doubt it for a second. And the first time I experienced it was 16 years ago. And that was just a chance answer. And then time went on. I just forgot. I recognized it, appreciated it. Time went on. And then in my current journey, maybe 2 years ago, year and a half, that's when I started being more mindful and asking and getting them. And
Mhm.
there and there's no, I'm a skeptic like anybody else. And I could say, yeah, come on, really? No, specific. I'll tell you the first time I ever experienced it.
Okay.
And it's, people say it kind of blows them away. So my son at the time was 9 months old,
Mhm.
and he had a condition called sagittal stenosis, where the skull fuses together and doesn't allow the brain to grow.
Okay. I've heard of that. Yeah.
And his head was kind of growing like a football. Um, Needed to make a decision, pick a doctor. How do you pick a doctor who's going to cut your kid's skull open
Right.
and fuse it back together with wire? And nowadays they don't do that. The kids wear a helmet for a period of
Right.
time, and that takes care of it. So, 15, 16 years ago, going to doctors back and forth, trying to make the right decision. Some of them saying like weird stuff. Yeah, we're going to peel his head this way. And then like, no, that doesn't sound right. So I'm driving back and I have my son in the car, and, we're in the car, and I'm thinking, and I'm like, and I just started going back to church. And as I'm driving, I'm like, all right, I'm going back to church. I'm thinking as I'm driving, never forget, it was a misty, rainy day, August. And I'm thinking, like, send me a sign. Give me something. Throw me something here.
Mhm.
Just I need something. 30 seconds later, I come up to an overpass. There's a billboard, and the billboard says, Stephen, do I have your attention now? And it was a billboard for a TV show. I believe it was True TV. And if you Google it, I still have it on my phone. If you Google it and just, Stephen, do I have your attention now? Billboard, it will come up. It was an ad campaign, and it was a soon to be ex-wife catching her husband, soon to be ex, believe cheating or something like that.
I remember those. Yeah.
I didn't even read the rest of the copy. All I saw was the front of that. And as I'm driving, I just said, okay, all right, thank you. And then a week
It's
later, I picked the doctors. Everything turned out fantastic. My son is,
yay.
incredibly bright, going to be an Eagle Scout in another month and all of that.
Fantastic.
But that was the sign I got. And I mean, how much more specific can you get?
Stephen, are you
Right,
paying attention, please? Yeah.
right. Do I have your attention now? Yeah, you do. And that was but then you fast forward. It's funny as I look back, and I believe there's no coincidences and there's
No.
threads here. As I look back at that billboard, um, going through a divorce now, there's some things in that billboard that are,
They circle back around. And if I remember right, and because I don't always remember readings when I do them, I become
okay.
a conduit. It's not my job to remember. That information is for you. But I'm going to say two things to that. One, if I remember correctly, when I sat down and I put cards down for you the last interview, I talked about a long term or something to that effect, closing out for you and a new cycle beginning.
Yep.
And then what was the other thing? See, this is how quickly I forget things. Um,
I was so blown away from you telling me that, it was an ex-girlfriend in traffic. I'm like,
the divorce situation, which I kind of figured that's what it was, but it wasn't my business to air your business on here,
yeah, whatever. I'm transparent.
But there was something else I was just going to say. Hell, what was it? I don't know. It'll come back to me. It always does.
Yeah. You got
But
something, say it. I have nothing to hide.
but yeah, it's that. And what else did you just say? You said about your son. Oh my
and that
goodness.
and that billboard had certain language in it
Oh,
that could apply to my life now.
that's what it was. Things are coming back around. I remember talking about the re's, reviewing, rereading, rewriting, and we're now in the shadow period leading up to Mercury retrograde, which is
Retrograde.
going to happen on the 21st.
Yep.
So we will start to see things playing out in our lives. And we also got the North and the South nodes getting ready to shift into Libra and Aries out of Scorpio and Taurus. So we're starting to see things shifting, things kind of coming back up, and not necessarily repeating patterns for everybody, but there's an awareness to what we've done before, the lessons that we should have learned, and how we're not going to repeat those things again.
Which I guess is the goal of a Mercury retrograde, where it brings you back and things you need to realize.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that real quick.
Sure.
It's April 21st to May 14th.
Mm-hmm.
And is this retrograde more impactful than others?
I think it's going to play a very large role in a lot of things. One, we should be at a period right now of kind of stillness, again, sitting back and observing, not really forcing any kind of action at this time. We're getting ready to move into Taurus season right around, I think it's the 21st or 22nd of April, actually, anyhow, too. So with that, Taurus is a much slower, more grounded, it's earth energy. There's not a big push, but our focus gets shifted to our material aspects, starting to make more plans, being more organized, getting our shit together, to put it bluntly. So people who, maybe if you're, typically, like, I struggle to be organized sometimes because I'm constantly on the go.
I'm a Virgo. I'll help you out with that.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm going to need you for the next month.
The yin and the yang, the yin and the yang.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's balance, right? There's that water and that earth. But it does. It's learning how to get yourself together, because as we move forward into Gemini season and over the summer, those are the go months, basically, is how I refer to them as, especially for people in our area, in the United States and stuff like that, because, summer's come, things are changing. There's a desire to be out and do more. So it's also pushing us forward through that way. Now, this Mercury period is going to be about, just as always, rereading, revising, being very careful of contracts that you're signing, who you're doing business with, reevaluating what your goals were even at the beginning of the year. I mean, you figure we're already almost to May. I mean, it's flying by. So 5 months in, where were you at January 1st? What was it that you were trying to accomplish? Because now it's time to reevaluate. Is there some critiquing that needs to be done? And now's a good time to do that, as we're starting to push through reevaluating our plans so that we have a more concrete foundation moving forward through the second half of the year.
I feel something about what you just said before, as we lead into this retrograde. In the last couple of days, week or so, I just feel like a plane that's just circling. Like I'm not flying forward. I'm just stagnancy. Say it again.
Stagnancy.
What is that word? I thought I heard you, but
so stagnancy.
Oh, stagnancy.
We're kind of just sitting. We're kind of like sitting ducks right now, going, what's coming? And I'm going to tell you, we've also got eclipse season, and I can't remember the dates off the top of my head. But in the midst of all of this craziness, as we move into Taurus season, we have eclipse season. Eclipses come in like a tower moment, like a cyclone, to clear everything out, flip shit upside down, and to go, here you go. Things, and I always say with eclipse season, expect the unexpected. What you didn't think could happen, there's a real high potential that it could. Don't have expectations going into these kinds of shifts. And then we've got Pluto that moved into Aquarius. It's going to sit there till June 11th. Same deal, like the overall energy, Pluto and Aquarius is making a major impact on all the other planetary alignments that we're dealing with right now.
I never knew you rolled so deep into astrology.
I am the typical Scorpio. We are a jack of all trades, master of none. There's nothing that we don't touch upon.
Wow. And it's amazing that you just said that stagnant feeling. I feel that just like now, and I'm trying to put my finger on it. It's just like, I just don't feel that, not that it's bad, but it just kind of just sitting there, nothing's happening.
And that's a lot of it right now, is we are just kind of sitting. Like I know what's coming, or for the most part, and I can sit down and reevaluate my own self and go, this is what's going on with my business in the brick and mortar place. This is what I'm doing on YouTube. We've got these going on till the end of the month with you, which is exciting. The work that I'm doing from home and all of the different things that I've got my hands in, even classes that were kind of on hold for a while that I do all my writing for. And now we're starting to get those going again, which is really nice. But it's been a very slow build up to those things, and just paying attention to what direction I want to move forward, where I want to take what I do and who I want to give that to, and come into unification with, basically, at the end of the day, so that I know that the work that I'm doing is the most meaningful. and it does, you kind of just sit here and you're kind of planning and you're like, what am I doing? How do I want to do this? What direction am I going to take this? It's just a time to be very aware.
When you do readings, do you
Mhm.
have to do, or do you always use cards, or you
No.
can just vibe somebody and pick something up?
I think I said in the first interview that we did over the phone, I had a gentleman come to a holistic fair. He was a skeptic. He thought he was cute. I thought he was funny. And so he sat down and I read him an entire, basically, lifespan from his grandmother. This gentleman was older, and his daughter was sitting there. She was an adult, and went back from the point of his grandmother the whole way to present day as to what brought him back into the area. And I never picked up a card.
Wow.
It was all clairvoyant and clairaudient from spirit that showed me what was going on, numbers. I mean, just being in tune with that. So I don't need to pick up a card. And a lot of times I'll start with cards in a personal reading setting. And just those couple of cards I'll start spitting out. I call it my spiritual vomit. A little disgusting, but still, because it's like run of the mouth. It just keeps going and going.
Cool.
But there's a reason that it's coming out. And then next thing you know, I'll lay down another row of cards or just a couple of cards, and it supports everything that I just said. So it's again, people have asked me for a very long time in the last 3 years that I've been doing this in a business setting, to teach tarot. And I refuse to teach tarot, and everybody kind of gets upset with me a little bit, but it's against my value, because I can give you a book, you can read your book. I can go back, read a book, memorize it, but it doesn't make up for our intuition. When we go back to the signs, the symbols, and the synchronicity class that I'm working on now, it takes us back to teach us about our intuition, how it comes full circle, just kind of like this conversation has, because we started with that to begin with.
Mhm.
But our intuition is what leads us to have that understanding. It could be cards, it can be pendulums, you can pick rocks, you can do whatever you want to do, but are you in tune with the self and with your source?
And with the cards, I have to believe it's the way you interpret the cards.
Mhm.
And everybody's going to look at them differently.
Well, I tell people as a really good example, like when we're interpreting things, for me, I'm not a fan of the color red. So when I sit down and I throw cards down, maybe you love the color red. That's your favorite Corvette color. I don't know. I see red most often, depending on how it falls. I see red as anger, frustration, a lot of negative vibes is what I tend to get with red. So if I lay down a card and I see that red, that tells me what your experience is, some kind of frustration, some type of anger. And then I'm taking a look at what else is laying around it, what it's coupled with, and then what spirit is giving me to go, this is what's going on. To you, again, red might be beautiful. That might be your thing. But when I look at red, it doesn't bring me a sense of peace. So
I hear you.
it's about what it means to me so that I can interpret for you.
I never do this. I really don't. But you were so spot on last time out of nowhere. Current relationship, me, what do you got?
She younger than you? She feels young. Her energy is young. Uh-oh. Look at him. He's like, well, did we go there?
I love it when you're right, but I hate it when you're right.
The energy feels young. It feels very bubbly. It feels very it's a cute, mischievous is what I'm gonna go with. Very playful kind of energy. And and that feels good. And I think if I remember correctly from the last time, I said to you that there's nothing but good things ahead coming from what's to come next for you. I feel like it's important to tell you not to take anything real serious. Just enjoy the ride. I think there's a past idea and it could have just been in your the way you were brought up, that this was, and just like most of us, white picket fence, we go to college, we do, all these little steps we have.
By the way, and that's all BS.
It's bullshit.
It is. Yeah. Over the top. And you know what? All that stuff, never guaranteed.
It's not guaranteed. And if you strive for that perfection, you are going to wear yourself out and you are never going to enjoy life.
And I did.
And you're going to be in debt.
Wait a minute. And I did. And guess what? I had it.
And it all ends.
It's all bullshit.
It is.
I don't think I've said bullshit on a podcast ever before, but it is. That's how I feel. It is. And nothing is guaranteed.
No. I say the only thing that we can ever count on is change is always going to occur.
Yeah. So be ready.
Consistency equals change. And we as humans are like, oh my God, no change, please. But it's a real thing. I will say that I just think that that idea comes from a long line of whether I'm going to call it heritage or the conditions or what you were taught. Like if you go into something, you do it full force and you work your butt off to get it. And with Virgo energy, I'm not surprised by that. That's a pretty typical male or female.
Yep.
But this is the way you were supposed to do it. And I think you're starting to come out of that pattern and coming into a realization that it's okay just to play, that it's okay to just enjoy it. That doesn't mean that by 6 months we should have done this. Like it's almost like before you were checking off time markers in your head. Well, I've been doing this for 2 years, so we should get married. We've been doing this for 3 years. We should do X, Y, and Z. We should have had this done, that done, goal wise. But I always feel like, or I feel like you were always in a sense of you were almost like one step ahead of whoever it was you were with. It was kind of like you were pulling somebody along a lot of the time to keep them up to pace with where you are. You have a lot of energy, a lot of good vibe. It's hard for somebody in a lower layer or a lower lying vibrational state to stay consistent with that type of energy. And I think that most times it was like some days they could hang in there, other days it didn't work out so well. But I think moving forward into what you're going through, addressing that past in this period is the fact that you're doing it differently, or the idea that you need to do it differently and how you can adjust. And I feel like you're going to have to it's almost like you're catching yourself in moments going, I don't need to think about it that way. I need to go with the flow and just let it take its course. It's almost like you're retraining yourself at this point on how to live that type of life.
Yes.
No
You're
cards,
amazing.
by the way.
No cards. No, but I don't want to agree, but yeah, all of that is true. All of that is true. It's like the journey,
It is.
It is. Yeah. Do you realize that in yourself in some regards? Like you reprogrammed?
I do. And I'm going to tell you, I do it all the time. It really is. I'm going to be completely, I'm very transparent with my clients and stuff, because to me, the really negative experiences that I've had in my life, I've gone through those so that I could use them to the greater good. That's where my power comes in, that I have managed to shift these things. And I will say, I brought it up, I think once before in a brief comment. Last year I went through a very serious domestic violence situation with my ex. And within weeks of getting out of that situation and starting to figure out what I was going to do with myself, I had multiple people come to my table with very similar situations. So my life has become more so of I go through this experience so that I can empathize with another person, not just feel bad for them, but truly understand where it is that they're coming from. And that's pretty much something I started to, when we're going through these situations, it's like, why? Why am I going through this? What in the hell is going on? But the reprogram.
And what's the lesson?
And what's the lesson? Exactly.
Yeah.
So now it's like, I recognize that reprogramming myself is going, I'm not a victim. I am a survivor of domestic violence, for one, but I'm also in a space where I know what my purpose is. So reprogramming myself, and it took me a good part of last year to understand that my mission in this life was to heal so I could help others heal. So all those old ways of thinking, I had to drop. And now moving forward, like all of them, I'm gonna be honest, my 2 divorces and then this past relationship, oh my God, what a shit show. There's no other way to explain it. I learned how to love unlovable people in hopes that they would love me back the way that I gave love to them. Talk about unprogramming yourself, because you're like, oh, it's like I wear a sign on my head. It says, do you need fixed? Come see me. And here I am, arms open, going, come here.
I'm the same exact way. And,
yeah.
and I'm at the point where I don't want to be the therapist anymore.
No,
I'm done.
No.
Like, it's okay. I care. I've even got, I've been in relationships where I've gotten, let me take you by the hand and help you. I'm going to get you hypnotherapy. I'm not trying to change anybody. I'm just trying to help you.
Right.
You can't go in a crowd of, more than 5 people. But you're a wonderful person. Here, I'm going to help you. And like, I can't do that anymore.
No, because you end up drowning yourself. And those are the patterns. Like when we go back to, it's like the late 1990s, I think it was, when the whole thing of like, everybody blames the parents, right? And it's not that we blame the parents, because I firmly believe Doesn't matter what you're going through in life. In that given moment, you are doing the very best that you can with the tools that you have to make things happen with.
Yep.
But not say blame our parents, but we go back to the initial standpoint of our lives, of how we were conditioned to believe, how we learn, maybe dad wasn't super emotional. Maybe mom dealt with dad's unemotional availability by drinking, whatever it might be. We never know, right? Every situation's different. But what did we learn growing up? We learned to love people who didn't give us love back. We learned that alcohol is a coping mechanism when we can't deal with our feelings or we want to distract ourselves. So just with that example, you take it and apply it however it fits to your life, but we do learn these things from our parents.
Yep.
Once we become old enough to recognize our free will choice of what is right and wrong, and we know right from wrong, we then get to decide how our soul's journey is going to move forward and if we're going to do the work to work on ourselves.
Yeah. And it goes back to what we first started talking about, the awareness, being present. Mm-hmm. And seeing those, even thinking back, well, my parents maybe write it down.
Yeah.
Maybe write it down and maybe it'll connect to the way you are or the way maybe you don't want to be.
Right.
Because you were brought up that way. Wow, we got deep today.
I'm a Scorpio. We don't do surface level anything.
No, but that's all good. What's your website, Nicole?
holisticallyzenwv.com.
Yeah, you're amazing. You really are.
Thank you.
Met a lot of people doing what you're doing, but your insight, your intuition, all of it is just, and all the other stuff in your wheelhouse, from herbs to chakra to energy. You got it going on, like all.
Well, I'll tell you, I've got a little bit of a bombshell. Maybe I'll let the cat out of the bag a little bit real quick, and maybe we can talk about this either the next one or the last, interview we do. I did channeling work in this. I realized this right before the last interview call we had. There was channeling work that I did that basically I step outside of my body and let spirit come in and do its thing. So, and it was something that I kind of put on the back burner. Wasn't sure if I wanted to do that anymore, if I wanted to address it, because the coincidences behind Jerry and Esther Hicks with Abraham and channeling Abraham, Sheila Gillette, there's so many in the industry, if that's what we want to refer to it as, the spiritual community. And I had a very unique experience a couple of years ago and starting to kind of play with the idea of going back into that. But I would love to get in that in the future. That's a whole other level of mediumship work.
Would love to learn. Would love to hear about it. Yeah.
It's again, creepy though. It was really weird.
So now we're prepared.
Yeah.
Great talking with you. Really was.
You too, Steve. Thank you so much.
And I'm going to say it. I love your hair.
Thank you.
I really do. It when somebody's hair fits them, yours fits you. It does.
I'm going to quick story. When all this stuff came up for us to do the podcast and thing, I hadn't had a legitimate haircut in 3 years. I let it grow out. It was a mess. I'm a jeans and t-shirt kind of girl. And they're like, oh, you're going to do all these things. And by the way, we've got a website we're working on. You need to get your life together, make yourself look like human. So 4 hours, 2 haircuts and a dye job later, we're fixed.
Wow, it looks fantastic. And when did you have it done? When did you have it done?
About a month ago.
Yeah. It just, it looks, it's you, very fresh, cool, sassy, pretty.
Definitely.
It's all there. It's all there. All right. Great talking with you. And we'll catch up next time. Okay.
Okay, Steve. Take care. Thank you.
You too. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.